Hello and welcome to another episode of Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, where we're taking Black folks into the future. Today, once again, we are joined for part two of a conversation that we started last week with Dawud Anyabwile, and he is the CEO, Big City Entertainment, and the creator of Brother Man Comics. And if you missed last week's episode, please go back and give a listen. You can find it on WOLDCnews.com. And you can also listen today, WOLDCnews.com. So be sure to tell folks out there where they can find us, as well as WOL 1450 AM, 95.9 FM. So last time we were talking, you were talking about Brother Man. You were giving us the backstory to that character. How successful has that book been?
You mean since the release?
Since the release, yes.
I would say it's been very successful. It's been recognized as being a pioneer within this Black comic sphere, as well as inspiring those outside of the realm. I have so many stories of not only Black comic creators who were inspired by Brother Man to create their own books, but also by people of other nationalities who created books reflecting their culture because they felt as though they were not represented, but they were inspired by our story as well. So that was also a rewarding feeling, knowing that, you are inspiring other people through loving yourself and who you are, because that's what they pick up on. Some people think you have to appease other people in order to inspire. And I think people are inspired by authenticity, by you being who you are. And then they understand what you're doing and they're saying, I need to do that for my people. You know what I'm saying? And that was one of the greater things about it. Also, we had like a lot of movie deals and things like that. They came to us since the first year Brother Man came out. And like I was saying, we never created with the intention of going to Hollywood, but we did have Hollywood basically coming to us. And, we investigated each thing, but, a lot of times it wasn't the right fit, but it was something that was, it was a great opportunity to have placed before you. And then also, it was acknowledged through a lot of media from, most major US papers. Arsenio Hall talked about in his monologue the first year we came out. America's Most Wanted, John Walsh, they did like a 5-minute spot on us, which was like historical for the show America's Most Wanted, to do a story on like a Black crime fighter, and tying that into their real life stories. That was pretty interesting.
Wow, yeah, I did not know that. Wow.
Oh yeah. We have, there's a lot of stuff I have that's in our archives that's not online, and because there's just so much stuff, and I've been dealing with so many things over the years. I didn't even have a chance to put all of it together in terms of the journey.
And it's also in the Smithsonian, is that not correct?
Yeah, we recently got picked up and collected in the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC in 2017. So basically, like a lot of the original like paintings that I did, like concept paintings of Brother Man, they collected up. And Brother Man, they said, was the first of the intellectual properties that they collected for their section that they want to create on like Blacks in comics and animation.
Wow.
As far as like the details of when that will open in the museum, it takes time to put those elements together. And they say it could take a couple of years to put that together. They may even do like shorter pop-up shows. But us, hey, we donated it at that point. where it goes is where it goes. Because we're also collected, like a lot of my actually the original Brother Man pages are at Clark Atlanta here in Atlanta in their archives. And a lot of the original articles, news articles, are collected up at Auburn Avenue Research Library. Because over the years, it seemed like some of the stuff was starting to get, it starts to get wear and tear sitting in your closet. And I had to think about that at first when it was saying, hey, we can archive it because, these are your babies. These
Exactly.
Are created. But at the same time, I was like, at a certain point, it's for the world. And I don't intend to sell the originals. So this way, you're accessing the archive, but the archive takes care of it. But at the same time, those who want to research it, they can go there and actually see it. Like, look at the originals.
That's incredible. Now, Brother Man, that's your staple. That is, I would assume, primarily what you're known for, at least initially. But you've been doing some other great stuff. Share with us where this is taking you in terms of, the mediums, which you're working with currently in terms of books and so forth. What else is going on with Big City Entertainment?
Well, with Brother Man, that was kind of like the thing that broke ground for myself and for my brothers and I back in the day. And then for me, I kind of moved forward into getting experience in the production, like television, film, animation field. Because in the 80s, I didn't have that experience. I went straight from high school to I did some college, but a lot of stuff was, I was kind of like a street artist. I had fine art experience in high school, but a lot of stuff I was kind of learning on my own. I didn't know how animation was actually made other than the little animation books that we collected up. So my first real animation job was in New York in 96 doing Pink Panther CD-ROM games in Manhattan. The art director there, he hit me up and said, "Hey man, I got a job for you." And I wasn't really confident if I could do it because I said, "Man, these professional animators, how can I hold up?" And he believed in me, and that was my first opportunity in '96. And this is right after my dad passed, and Big City Comics pretty much like went defunct, and I was in a bad space emotionally, how I was feeling, and my second son was being born, so getting this opportunity to go into a studio was like a new lease on life.
Right.
Oh man, now I can learn how the professionals do it.
Right.
So I went from there to working at MTV Animation on a show called Daria. I did my first music video, which was Big Pun, I'm Not a Player. And then I left New York and went to LA and eventually landed the job as a character designer on Wild Thornberrys and Rugrats during the high point of those shows. Right. So that was like, I was still learning, for me, it was a big deal because I'm still in an environment where also like when I got to LA, I was like, I think I was the only brother in the building. If there was another brother there or another sister there, I just didn't see them.
Right.
But, I'm just saying on my day to day, I didn't see them. However, I had good experiences all those places. Like a lot of the artists, they would share with you. People are always more than happy to help you.
Right.
Even when I came to Atlanta and started working at Turner Studios, doing work for Cartoon Network, Turner Sports and all that, I had no bad experiences in my 10 years there. Learning about production and a lot of things that I just never really, I didn't go to school for. I basically am getting paid to learn things, you know what I'm saying? Right. Then in 2008, I won an Emmy Award for my work on, it was a Dalai Lama public service announcement when Dalai Lama came to Atlanta. And, I sat down with their team and helped them conceptualize how the spot should look. Because I was doing like storyboard, concept art, a lot of pre-production work. Right. And then 3D people, they'll actually make it happen and whatnot. And then it got nominated for an Emmy and then won.
Excellent, excellent. Once again, you are joining us this morning at Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones. And we are joined by the highly decorated and much accomplished Dawud Anyabwile. So talk to us now about like your venture into publishing, into to books and so forth. There's a lot going on in terms of that. What projects have you worked on? What projects are you currently working on?
Okay, well, let's see. I've been working on recently. I've had basically a string of graphic novels that I've been working on since 2017, I'd say.
Hmm.
Um, Prior to that, I did a children's book back in 1995. Uh, that was my first one. It was called Smithy Blue, Ace Crime Detective, by Walter Dean Myers. And then in 2015, Walter Dean Myers had hit me up to do the book Monster, which was already a a bestseller in the public school system
Right.
under the Scholastic umbrella. And so I did the graphic novel version, which recently was adapted to a Netflix movie. Um, I think produced by Nas and John Legend.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was 2000. And my brother Guy was brought on to do the adaptation of the writing because the novel, was written in a certain uh, uh, form for
Hmm.
the novel, but for the graphic novel, it had to be broken down to like a comic book uh,
Right.
in terms of the narrative. So then they brought my brother Guy on. So that was me and my brother Guy's first time really being hired by a book publisher outside of us doing it ourselves. And uh, then Kwame Alexander contacted me to illustrate his novel, The Crossover, which also was an award-winning book already, but they want to do the graphic novel version, and that was in 2017. That came out in I think about 2019. It was released, and that was um, recently picked up and currently now being done as a live action show for Disney Plus. So then from there, Kwame Alexander came back and we did a second book called no, not the crossover, Booked, Booked, which is about these kids playing soccer. And that book just came out this month. So if
That's
you go online and just type in Book, the graphic novel, that will pop up. And in between, I did a couple other books. One called Rebound. I did some like spot drawings in that. Uh, oh wow. Oh man, I'm trying. There's so many things that were
so many
happening.
things, right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's that. Hey,
But
that's a good problem to have, man.
yeah, but one of the one that's most recently is Victory Stand by author Derek Barnes, and that's about the life of Olympic gold medalist Tommy Smith, 1968 Olympic gold medalist. So that's the brother, had the fist
Right.
in the
Yes.
air. Because a lot of people they know that image is iconic, but a lot of people, if you say his name, it's like, who's that? But then once I say who it is, they say, oh, so that's why I think this book will be very important because people don't know his life story. They don't know the
Right.
story behind why he did what he did. And
Right.
they don't know that he grew up as a son of a sharecropper. And, you know, his life journey is really a story of triumph.
Hmm.
And I worked on that all last year, and that launches in September of this year.
Did you feel any additional pressure in doing the work on such a historic figure and such a historic event, or was it just, you know, everyday thing for you?
No, I think every project I work on, you're going to feel pressure just taking on the project
Hmm.
because it's not done yet.
Right.
But you just look at the mountain of work that has to be done, and that can weigh down on you. But then when it's somebody, like a Tommy Smith, and right before that, I did Becoming Muhammad Ali. That was endorsed by the Ali estate.
Wow.
I think the difference with this one is Tommy Smith is still alive.
Right.
In fact, he lives right near me here in Georgia. So
Right.
I had a chance to go over his house. He showed me his gold medal, and man, his basement is like an archive museum. All the
Right.
great pictures of him with all the greats in his basement. He said most people haven't even seen what he showed me when I was in his basement. And so to me, that's an honor doing it for a legend who's still alive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So to finish the book, and he commented and said how the job that me and the author Derek Barnes did, it brought tears to his eyes, and he said, "Man, it was like you brothers were there in my life."
Wow.
You know
Wow.
what
I
I
can't
mean?
imagine like a bigger compliment. Gee,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
incredible.
Because he was
That's
asking how did y'all do it, and my perspective was I felt like his story is our story. Like even though I wasn't there, I didn't grow up like that, but I can identify. Like it's in your DNA. I
right.
could feel this is my family too,
Right.
so it's not foreign to me. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It is and it isn't. So when I'm reading the script and I'm visualizing what he probably went through, and he's talking about his father, he's talking about his brothers and sisters, a huge family. I said, okay, we came from a huge family.
Right.
They migrated. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it wasn't that difficult. And actually, if anything, I'm more excited. I'm not. I can't wait to jump in to do it.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know what I'm
I
saying?
got
Yeah.
you. I got you. Now, in terms of representation, in terms of, as we've talked about, seeing ourselves being illustrated and so forth, how do you see it in terms of today? Because you've been in this over 25 years, so you can see the evolution. You can see the highs and the lows in terms of Black representation in comic books, cartoons, television, movies, and so forth. Where do you see it today? Are you optimistic? Is there a lot of work to do? How would you describe it?
It's kind of a mix between all of it. There's a lot of good things because there's a lot of independent Black creators, both male and female, all ages, who are independently putting out high quality entertainment products.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Some of them may not get the notoriety that they deserve, but they're also not unknown because they can build their own audience with social media and the internet. As
Right.
opposed to back in the day, if they just didn't get out on the mainstream platforms, you just wouldn't know them.
Right.
So they have a lot of ways to get out, and they can connect with the world. So you have a lot of young people who really are, I would say, are on a more advanced level than when we were coming up because we didn't have access to professionals who can show it. I didn't know any professional artists as a kid, even into my teenage years.
Hmm.
Most people I knew, they were like me, street artists just trying to figure a way. But a lot of young people now, they can do the tutorials, learn things from the professionals, master classes. So by the time they graduate high school, they're doing concept art and animation and things like that. So they're advancing. And then the same for say like ownership. A
Hmm.
lot of them are learning about ownership. They want to control their own. They could take master classes on how to run a business.
Right.
We didn't know those things. We had to figure things out. We were getting gagged by people on the streets, basically people that get over on you because you're just trying to make $125, but you're giving them $5,000 worth of work.
Got
But you may not think of yourself as being worth that much. But I think now people are learning their value more because there's social media, people telling you that, there's their mantras, know your worth.
you. Right.
We didn't know all those things coming up.
Right.
And now the other thing, the downside that I would say, well, I won't really say the downside. I'll just say the other side of that coin is when we get excited about representation versus ownership or versus self representation versus representation.
Hmm.
And I think representation is cool because it does inspire. Like, say, if Disney or any other companies that aren't owned by us create characters and they're now capitalizing off of that fire. Like, wow, man, Black characters in a high quality first run movie,
Right.
but it's not our industry. So they generate the revenue, but then that revenue fortifies their kingdom. It
Right.
doesn't build an industry for us,
Right.
but it may inspire a lot of people to want to create their own thing. So there's kind of like, I don't say it's all bad. I just say understand what it is, because when we say that's our accomplishment, I look at it like, I don't think it's our accomplishment. I think our accomplishment is when we create something and then we benefit from that by utilizing those resources to build more on that. We can build on that continuously. Like, we can continuously green light what we want to see every day, so it's not a special event.
Right.
You
Right.
see what I'm saying? So I think we're moving towards that because change doesn't come overnight. It's going to take stages. Like
Right.
even looking at Tommy Smith, 1968 Olympic gold medalist Tommy Smith, think about his story and the things that he fought for way back then, and people like him paving the way for somebody like me, and then me paving the way for these next younger people, and then them paving the way. We have so many years where we're behind that it's going to take time for us to progress. Sometimes people, they put it on us like, well, why aren't you making a cartoon now? Why aren't
Right.
you doing it now? Why are you messing up? It's almost like we can't make a mistake.
Yes.
We have to be Stan Lee overnight.
Right.
We have to be George Lucas overnight. And it's just like, yo, I did this with airbrush money. You're trying to compare me to millionaires. You're trying to compare
Right.
me to people that have got support from other major people. I said
Right.
my support came from people that love me, yes, but they weren't people with long pockets or
Right.
deep pockets, rather.
Exactly. Got to invest. We have to vote with our dollars. Say it all the time. And what you're talking about is a big part of what we're trying to do here at Into the Afroverse by bringing artists like yourself and content creators to the forefront, folks that may not know them, may not be aware of them. And like I said, we have to support. Once again, it's a great thing to say what we want to see, but oftentimes in saying what we want to see, we don't show it by economically supporting these things. And when that happens, we lose a lot of great artists. We lose a lot of great creators because they may end up selling their creations to someone else so that
Mm-hmm.
they can take care of themselves and their family. So we have to be able to support what we say we want to see. And like I said, we also got to support folks like yourself that's been doing it right from day one. I think it's great what's happening with the big two comic companies and some of these other movie houses that are putting out, like you said, black characters and so forth. But look at their history. It took them a long time to get to this point. And
Mm-hmm.
even still, some of their representation is problematic.
Mm-hmm.
But folks like yourself that's been doing it from day one need to be celebrated and supported. And real quick, once again, can you remind us, how can we support you? How can we get your work? Where can we find it?
But on Instagram, my Instagram page is at Brother Man Comics with an X. That's Brother Man COMIX. The website is brothermancomics.com. Now that's brothermancomics.com. And yeah, that's primarily it. I don't really have like a whole lot of social media,
Right.
and the past few years I've really been focusing more on the freelance work, doing the storyboards for film and television. And a lot of those clients, they just reach me just through email. So I haven't really been promoting hard on Brother Man until I'm ready to bring it back like
Excellent.
righteously.
And I don't know if it's too early to say. I don't know if it's in the works, but you had mentioned this. Is there any hopes of bringing it to the big screen or even to the small screen? Is that part of the conversation right now?
I've when we first started Brother Man in 1989 is when we first conceptualized it. We conceptualized it with the idea of it being a movie, not really a comic book. The
Okay.
comic we imagined it as a storyboard for film because my brothers and I were kind of more into like sci-fi and movies. And that's why I always tried to draw it in an epic way, in my own way. And those opportunities, they kept coming. They're still coming. And I know it's going to hit, but I think it's one of the things where, organically, when the time is right, is when it's going to be right. I'm patient. I don't feel like I just got to do it just to do it.
Right.
I want to do it where it's done, and I could be proud of it, and it lasts, the span of time, as
Right.
opposed to you just got it out, threw it out there, and then it just faded as fast as it came.
Got you. And I
Yeah.
got to ask this question.
Mhm.
You're talking about the way you want to see your vision brought to life on the big screen. Has there been anything that you've turned down because of the way folks wanted you to perhaps compromise your vision or represent us in a way that you didn't find would be appealing?
Yeah, we've turned down movie deals in the past because of how, we could tell right away that they had their agenda in terms of what they wanted to do with our intellectual property. And
Hmm.
that was like, we're talking early 90s. Before there was really a black comic movement, before people were talking black comics, we were having movie deals with major studios. And Brother Man would have been basically, because this is before Boondocks, this is
Right.
before
Right.
a lot of those major films from back then. But we were always adamant about, well, we're not going to be putting out anything that's going to make us look bad, because a lot of times money, people get, the dangling carrot where they'll give you the money that you want, but then you got to come out looking like a fool, play your people like a fool, and they'll take the money and do it.
Right.
And our thing was, hey, watch, we'll make the money anyway, and we're not going to do this, because I feel that would be more detrimental, and the damage can be greater.
Yes.
Especially if it's a major studio, because with our comic book, your audience is limited. With
Right.
a major studio, your stuff will be out all night everywhere, and that will be everybody's first impression of your intellectual property, which goes back to really me and the creators, not really the studio. You see what I'm saying? Because they'll just move from that. Okay, we did it. Now they move on to the next thing.
Right.
But then it's like you can pretty much be crushed from that.
Right.
Or if that's your thing, you move from that. Some people, they go into greater careers because they took on things like that. But I'm like, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm not judgmental on what other people do. That's not the legacy I wanted. And then I also had like independent projects that came at me where people want me to do things that I didn't really, I was just like, no, I don't think I want to advance that. And there may be times where I need the loot.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know. I just don't want to do that.
Well,
But
brother,
yeah.
I want to thank you for standing strong, because yes, we need folks to be able to turn down that dangling carrot, as you put it, for greater things. So I certainly salute you for doing that, and all the success to you in your future endeavors. Once again, I can't thank you enough coming out for part 2 of the interview. Really appreciate it. But we are drawing to a close, folks. So once again, this is Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, here on WOL 1450 AM, 95.9 FM. You can also find us on WOLDCnews.com. Dawud, just want to say thank you, brother. Best of luck to you, all your future endeavors. And hey, anytime you want to come back, talk about what's going on next, please let us know.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, brother. Peace.
Peace.